Welcome everybody to the March 9th Energy and Climate Action Committee meeting. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. We do have quorum. I know we have a couple of folks that are traveling actually out of the country. And then Roberta got a last minute conflict. Hopefully all is well. So she is unable to join as well. All right, and we have a good group here today. So we have a variety of folks. We have 4 of our members here, and we have a nice complement of guests. So let's go around quickly and introduce the members first, and then we'll introduce all the guests. So I'm Tom McNellis. So let's go to Eleni.
My name is Eleni Carr.
John.
Yep, John Muggeridge. I'm helping with one of the committees.
John Boyney.
Wrong John.
Sorry about that.
One of us is gonna have to change our names, John. This is John Boyney, member of the committee.
Then Harriett.
Harriett Emerson, member of the committee.
And then we'll go around the room.
Kevin Eastman, 30 Chipman Street.
Harry Senecal, volunteer.
All right, and online we have Jack.
Jack Hadley, volunteer, and I'm a little under the weather, so I may sign off early.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for joining us. And our esteemed John, other John.
Yeah. Yes. Again, John Muggeridge, 20 Elder Lane, volunteer.
All right, well, I'm just going around circular here. Gail.
Cheryl.
Or Cheryl, what am I talking about? I'm backwards. Cheryl Gale, not Gail Cheryl.
Cheryl Gale, volunteer.
All right, we got Kathy.
Kathy Dawes, Tim Part-Time Residents Association. And I might also drop early. I'm way under the weather.
Oh no, sorry to hear. And Jackie. Jackie, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Now I see on the screen there that you're muted. If I can figure out the iPad version of this thing, I will unmute you.
Would you like me to speak again quickly?
Now hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. Maybe we'll let. All right, Jackie, you should. Now it shows unmuted here on my screen, but I will unmute over here. You got it.
Which part?
Jackie, just unmute Jackie. Not hearing her. Try that again, Jackie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, look at that.
They're a little bit low volume though, if we could.
Okay, I can be loud. I am the community development planner, working in the development department.
Thank you. We'll need to probably amp up the volume just a little bit for your presentation in a minute.
Okay.
So with that, I'm thrilled to have all the guests here. It's really important that we interact and we have inputs from from folks and also our volunteers. So who are helping us. So with that, we're at the public comment period. So this is the time to say something on items that are not on the agenda. So if anyone, any of the guests would like to jump in.
Again, Kevin Eastman, 30 Chipman Street. I was just curious, based on the name of the committee, whether anybody would like to do a site visit in response to a clear cut done by the elementary school. We're coming up on the 3-year anniversary. Happened during April vacation of 2023, and it's been a struggle to get what I feel is accountability for a project that was approved, but maybe not fulfilled in the same manner that was approved. I don't know, a lot of questions, and I haven't found it smooth sailing with trying to get answers. So I know there's town involvement, there's school involvement, very complicated, but I'm attempting to reach out to people who are concerned about climate and take action on it. So that's why I thought attend this meeting. I will have to leave early also because I want to hit the select board meeting. So my contact number is 774-216-9403.
216-9403.
9403. And it's 30 Chipman Street, but also it's a private road. So if somebody does want to do a site visit, please contact me to arrange.
Okay, very good.
So
Thank you.
thank you very much, and thank you all for what you're doing. It's so important and so needed. And I feel like a lot of the communities around us are advancing the cause, and I hope we can catch up and keep pace and maybe even lead the way in some categories. So
Excellent. Excellent.
thank you all again for what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Any other guest comments? And I think, John, we have you on the agenda, John Muggeridge, so we'll hold you on that topic till that point. Okay, so with that, as always, guests, please raise your hand to comment. We're going to kind of prioritize the committee members to make sure we have a vibrant discussion. And as we lead off, just a quote from a book by Elspeth Hay, which is "Feed Them with Trees." So this is apropos that that Kevin, you're here. And she said, "It is much more powerful to be for something than to be against something." So I thought that was kind of cool and appropriate for us. With that, we're going to turn this over to Jackie, who is assistant town planner and working very closely with the strategic planning committee that does a lot of long-term planning and actions and tracking of actions for the town. And so we wanted to learn a little bit more about how that works, what the tool is that Jackie put together for them, and just take a look at that for potential best practices for something we could use as we do the climate action plan once it comes online.
Great, thank you. And hopefully volumes can be turned up to hear me. My microphone says it's on and at full power. So
that's much better now. So thank you.
Okay, good. And I do just want to acknowledge, Kathy, I saw that your hand was up. I don't want to run you over if you needed to get in.
No, it's fine. I'll save my question till later.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and actually share my screen to show you what this is. And then I'll talk about it while you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you should be able to see a Microsoft window that's showing you sort of our internal view of the strategic plan goals. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with our recently released strategic plan, but there is a new plan out. That's the 2025 to 2030 plan. I'm going to start from the outset and say I'm not the person with whom you would discuss the contents of this plan. So if you, as keen observers, are seeing things on the plan and you think, wait, I have a question about that, happy to put you in touch, but I am probably not the right person to talk about that. I'm really here to talk about this tool and to talk about it really in the context of what you all are doing with your plan and how you might support the implementation and tracking of that plan. So broad strokes here, when the Strategic Planning Committee asked for a way to actively implement and track all of the tasks that were in the strategic plan. So we call those action items. There are, at this time, I believe we're at 118 action items. On the 5-year plan, we will be incorporating new action items, thank you to your plan. So we'll see what that gets us up to our final number. The idea here is with these long-range plans, we want to make sure that we are not losing track of any of the priorities. In these long-range plans, sometimes you have items that are important, but may be dependent on other actions in town and can't start until 2027 or 2028. And so we need a place for those to live and to be able to be updated. Tom and I have talked about this, and he's seen the tool as a visitor in the Strategic Planning Committee. Well, I guess what I want to say for you all to start off is I want you to know that this plan exists and how the Strategic Planning Committee is using the tool, because your top priorities that are going to be migrated into the strategic plan as soon as your plan is adopted, this is where they're going to go. Right? So they're going to get adopted into that nice, beautiful public view that's on the website, right? So that everybody in town can see that they're there. But they're also going to live here. And this is an internal tool. This is not something that we, have out and available right now. It's all the same plans. It's all the same information. This is just a little bit more nimble for changing things and updating as it goes. Effectively, you can see as I scroll, in a lot of ways, this is an Excel spreadsheet. And actually, the foundation for this tool is an Excel spreadsheet. The tool itself is able to be updated in real time without having to create version 2.3 and version 17.46. So I think the hope is that it's going to keep us on track without sort of losing those documents when there's turnover on committees or in staff. This becomes sort of the living, breathing home for all of those action items. Your action items, when they move into the strategic plan, will be aligned with the goals. And so you can see there's a lot here just under goal 1. I'm going to scroll quickly just to show you, so then we transition into other goals. These align if you go back to the strategic plan with sort of the large area goals. So yours will be incorporated here. They will be assigned a project lead based on the staff member or members who are, working most closely with those items. You can see here that there is an SPC liaison. That's the Strategic Planning Committee liaison. So those committee members are really our accountability folks. They are meeting quarterly with their assigned staff members to review action items, both those that are ongoing and others that may be, paused. They'll want to know why, or they may be completed. So they're having those quarterly check-ins. They then input updates right here into the system. So you can see, perhaps a project that is not started. If that starts, the committee members are able to go in here and update this to ongoing or in process, sort of depending on the language that they get. They can also change the priorities, the time frames. They add notes from their meetings. So it's really comprehensive. Everything lands into this one tool. And so, Shayna and I met last week to look at this and think about sort of, is this the right tool for you all? I don't think we know that yet until your plan has been adopted. But I do want to make sure it's clear that your priority items are going to be switch into this plan or sort of added to this plan and live under this accountability. So they're not getting forgotten. They actually have a quarterly metric that they're meeting. And that's going to align with what you all want to see moving ahead. And then you have these SPC liaisons who are the volunteer committee members like yourselves who are actually working directly with staff, not to complete the projects, but to check in and make sure that we're making progress on our goals. I'm going to pause there quickly and see if there are any questions. And I can't necessarily see if you're raising your hand when my screen is shared, so feel free to unmute and jump in. All right, I'm hearing none. I think the next question.
Jackie, let me ask a quick question then.
Yep.
Approximately how many assignments does each SPC member get in terms of liaisoning with, if that's a word, with staff?
Yeah, it does depend on the liaison, but I can show you actually one of the ways that we're able to break this out. So this is how a liaison member or how a committee member would look at it. So Brian, who's on the committee, can actually isolate a tab and look just at his assigned action items. And then which staff members, does he need to check in with so that he can stay accountable to that. Part of the design in this on the accountability structure is actually having the liaisons are the people who have multiple staff members that they're checking in with. But for the most part, each staff member is only hearing from one strategic planning committee member. So they're not answering the same question to different committee members at different times. So it's not adding a lot of work, to their plate. So we're able to sort of isolate that down. I will say the one person who falls outside of that one member category is Paul Lag, our town planner and community development director, who simply has too many action items assigned to possibly have only one committee member to work with. You can see there that they divvy them up there. So I want to say probably the lowest right now is 14 or 15 items. And there is at least one committee member who is responsible for more than 20. And
those are a number of action items, but presumably those action items, many of them cover the same staff member. So in terms of liaisons, like for instance, for Brian, how many meetings does he typically do quarterly to status everything? 3?
Yeah, I think he's at 3, which actually, as far as liaisons go, he's a little more spread out, but that sort of worked with him. And probably Michelle Vian is pretty comprehensive and has a fair bit. Others are more concentrated, So, for example, we have Carolyn McPherson, who's a committee member. She is also the vice chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. And so she is assigned to everything to do with housing in the strategic plan. And so she's going to be the one meeting with Rachel Butler, our housing coordinator. So it does vary, Tom. But, the committee members were really active in creating this and deciding sort of who would have which conversations. So they were able to speak up for themselves to say, I have too much. This isn't going to work for me. I need some support, or, I'll use Brian as the example, sort of said, I don't mind having 3 or 4 meetings quarterly. That works for me. Some of these meetings are quick, because it may be that the update is these things are still not started because the timeline is 2 years away, right? So they're really focusing on what's directly in front of them and what comes next. Okay. So again, just jump in. If you have questions, please feel free to interrupt me, or I may talk all night and you don't want that. When Shayna and I met on this, I think, and I don't want to speak for her, but I know you'll see her tomorrow. The feeling was that our first priority here is to get your priority items into the strategic plan, assign that committee member, and make sure that accountability is happening on your highest priorities. I know that then leaves you all with probably, I'm hearing somewhere around 50 other action items of your own. And so I think, the next step once your plan is adopted is to sort out what might work for you all if you want to have an internal tracking document. I'm going to show you one other view of this. Actually, I'm just going to go this way. So this is actually a SharePoint site where all of this lives. So this was all built sort of custom for the committee. This is some work that I did. I want to say this for my colleague Shayna when we think about yes, we want that great big plan too. This is several weeks of work at the staff level to get this to happen. So this is not a small undertaking for something that is really comprehensive. So I don't know that every one of our committees necessarily needs that. Something the committee decided to add was their own implementation tracker, which I thought was great. So this is sort of a scaled down version rather than being connected with the goals. This was the committee deciding sort of the order of operations. So you can see here, finalizing the plan, implementation. They scheduled themselves under some timelines for check-in points, for public updates. So I thought that was something that they did that just felt really smart to say, let's make sure as we're, having this sort of staff level accountability and working with the staff on the plan, that internally as a committee, we are also keeping track of what we need to do to keep our plan moving forward and keep the work moving. And this was Hope Plavin, who is the chair, came up with this, and then I designed it for her. And her other point in this was, of course, our committee members change sometimes for lots of different reasons. And so having this long range internal plan, we believe will help the committee as, people rotate off committee, new people rotate on committee, to be able to check in and go, okay, where are we? Right? We haven't met for a couple of months because life got crazy. Where are we? What's next? So I thought that was a really helpful and smart design that she put in there. All right. I'd love to hear what you're thinking, even if you don't have any questions. If anything's jumping out at you or you're thinking, we really want to grab that, or this looks like too much. What's on your minds?
Thoughts, anybody?
John, go ahead.
Yeah, Jackie, the comprehensive plan that you showed us, just the town's plan, the internal plan, looks like a great tool. Could we just clone that?
Do you mean the page that had all of the action items?
The action items and the assigned people and the priority lists. I mean, could we just make a copy of that and input our goals and things? And then it could feed directly from ours to the towns on the high priority items, or the ones that were in the town strategic plan.
Right. I'm not sure that we're able, just from a software perspective, to link the plans, so that updates are happening between the two, which would be incredible. So that's why we're talking about, moving priorities from this committee into the larger plan, and then having, this committee have its sort of own version. I don't know, I'm not as familiar enough with your plan to know if those, sort of staff assignments and that level of detail is where this committee is going to be in, say, June, or if that may be too granular, but certainly something. I mean, this level of organization and the ability to update live and in real time as you move through is absolutely something that can be created. I speak with caution on staff capacity. I am not the liaison or the staff committee member. So, I'm not necessarily the person to build this unless I am assigned to build this, which I will, because it'll be my job if it's assigned to me. And I don't want to ask my colleague Shayna to say, hey, just take on this weeks long project without being really thoughtful about capacity on its total. I will say that version that you looked at, that sort of view, again, the foundation of that is the Excel spreadsheet. And my understanding, I think, is that the Cape Cod Commission, as it is sort of finalizing work on your plan, is going to produce for you, take that PDF and that narrative and create a spreadsheet of some nature. Tom, does that sound right?
We have not gotten that indication from them yet.
Okay.
It wasn't clear just yet. But I think perhaps one of the questions that John is asking is how to create this as a shell, as a template to be populated if we wanted to use it. And I'm wondering, was the SharePoint built from the Excel, or is the Excel an output of the SharePoint?
The SharePoint is built from the Excel. And so that really does become the first piece. But then in terms of, we went through multiple iterations. So to get it to a similar sort of look and feel, absolutely is possible. It may be a matter of when and who has the time to do it and where we're going to fit that in. So
conceivably, we could make an Excel based on the shell of the Excel database that was done for the strategic plan, and we could easily adopt at least on that level. And then I guess the next question would be, what does it take after import into SharePoint to make the nice labels and the nice colors and all that?
Yeah, and I would say there's the making of, and then there's the learning to use. So additional time was spent together with the strategic planning committee to train them on this, because they are the ones now actually on this, doing those updates, putting in those notes, interacting with the system much more than I do. I'm really sort of their troubleshooter if they're finding that something's not working or something they thought should be there was missing. But really, it's now after a couple of rounds of training and meetings, they are the ones actively using the system. So, there's that time to account for as well as you look at this and think about as a committee, where do you want to use your time in terms of planning and training? But it is certainly possible to recreate in a way that works for you all.
Yeah, that's great. This is a wonderful tool. How do they physically do the updates? Do they need to get on a town computer to do that?
They don't. Nope. I was able to add them all. So this little bit technical here, but it becomes what's called a Microsoft group. And, so that then links with, they can use their personal emails. And they're able to access just through a link directly. And they have two different ways that they're able to add notes into the system. So they actually use this. So it's sort of like an internal website, right, with different pages. So this meeting notes page is an area where they can add notes. This tends to be, a note, something that's going to get really long, or they want to cut and paste in. Some folks are collecting updates by email. And then other committee members, for now, are more comfortable putting their notes in. Let's see if Brian has any in there. Here in their own committee member assignments. So they're actually able to open this up. And this is where they're able to sort of update, things like the staff assignment or the status, and then they can add notes directly here. Part of the conversation they're having is using the notes only within each action item. If this is, if you're talking about a project that's going to be evolving over 5 years, that's going to get pretty onerous. Unfortunately, one of the limitations of the system in SharePoint is that it doesn't timestamp your notes when they're put here versus that other page, that just meeting notes view. So, they've only been at this for, 2 rounds of updates. I think as they continue on, they're going to migrate over to that meeting notes page, which would also be something you can then in turn export, if you wanted to search for all of the meeting notes that have to do with this plan or all of the meeting notes that mention a particular staff member or a property ID or something like that. So it does give some good back and forth.
Right. And then when you get to the point of updating the plan, updating action items, making rearrangements, is that something that staff would get involved with, or is the committee envisioned as being the implementer of those changes?
Yeah, the committee members are the ones actually coming in here and clicking in and, saying, okay, this is now, I don't want to change it because, Rachel will be thrown off, but they're able to come in here and update, those items. That was really, as we built it out, sort of a request at the staff level to not be in a place where we're now, we're all trained on a lot of different software for different purposes, to not add this sort of new way of now there's another place where you have to update. And so the committee members have done a great job of taking that on. And that's really become now sort of their committee purpose, is to be the ones who are tracking and updating.
So they can add new action items themselves if needed.
They can. Yep. So if through the process, new action items are identified, as they will be with your plan, they're able to go in here. I will probably be the one who actually inputs the new action items because these action items have been decided on, with the select board, with the committee. It's been an open process. So they aren't going in to add action items sort of willy-nilly. But it is certainly possible they could get a directive from the select board that they want to update the plan and add something. That's always a possibility as well.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a more formal process.
Correct. Yeah, they really agreed that, small small changes and updates. They aren't necessarily informing the select board, every month or something like that, but they're going to follow up essentially after their quarterly meeting, for their individual meetings. Then they meet as a committee and sort of debrief with everybody and check in. And then they get on the select board agenda so they can update the select board, with really the most important items.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions from, for Jackie? Okay. Well, I thank you very much, Jackie, for taking the time tonight to show this, and kudos for a great tool. I know SharePoint, I've used it many times. It's not the most friendly tool, but once you get it set up, it can be done nicely if it's well thought out. And looks like this is very well thought out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I look forward to supporting you all as your plan gets adopted and finalized and out there and moving over here into the strategic plan as well. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. We'll move on then to minutes, and there was an update late this morning, early this afternoon to the two meeting minutes. If anyone needs more time, we can always push those off to the next meeting for approval. But what's the general feel from the committee on whether we're good to go on voting on this? Does anyone want to hold, or are you good? Okay, so with that, I'll take a motion to approve the February 9th and March 2nd meeting minutes. Harriet, was that you?
Yes. Sorry, some traffic noise.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. Very good. Next on the agenda, we're working through several of the actions, goals that we set for this year, and Harriet and Jack have been working on the no idling sign. So I'll turn over to Harriet, and you can update us on that and the next steps.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So I want to do, and I think we've discussed this project before in previous meetings, but I'll just start with a real quick overview. So basically less idling. It's a project aimed at helping to encourage people to stop or reduce their idling or dissuade them from idling. And I know many of us have been at the beaches and seeing people there to enjoy the sunsets or for whatever reason, and just being aware that the car is idling and idling and idling. So anyway, hopefully we can take some steps to help discourage that. I really want to stress that this is not something, we're not asking the town to create any more regulations. This is not about enforcement. This is positive. It's all about awareness building of some of the climate impacts of idling, which I think most people really aren't aware. So hoping by building awareness and, the reason that people there are looking at the sunset, preserve our resources and what have you. So that's what it's all about, really. It's not enforcement, it's awareness building. So the document that Tom has shared, Less Idling, More Clean Air, really think about that. So the plan is then to start to have some meetings with town staff and discuss the concept. And so that includes information. Jack and I have included, and I really kudos to Jack for really pulling this together on the impacts of idling, which I say most people, even a small car idling for even just a few minutes creates quite a bit of a carbon dioxide, along with some other unhealthy emissions. So just helping the town, so it's part of the discussion with the town staff. the impacts of idling. Jack has prepared, so we have some information in the Department of Energy, more like generic estimates, what have you. Jack has also prepared, which he could speak to better than I. He's developed some estimates for Eastham specifically. So that would be the plan, to meet with the town, describe the project to them. The paper includes, discuss the information that's in the paper, and then also potential steps for awareness building. So this would include, and to help people discourage, like I say, the idling. So this might include signs at the beaches. So a couple of options would be, I think once we'll have a much better idea once we meet with town staff. So a longer term goal, or maybe near term goal, we'll just have to see what the town says, would include potentially permanent signs to be displayed at the beaches. Depending on town's resources, maybe we would initially start with some temporary folding signs. Hopefully we can meet with the staff and, get the approval and what have you to do this before hopefully before the July 4th weekend. And so just get the response to that, thinking that maybe meet with the Recs and Beach Department staff, because they would be most directly impacted by this, and then perhaps the Department of Public Works. So maybe Shane, or we can get some direction on basically where to go with that. Also, wanted to let you guys know or get your input or thoughts on, in addition to the signs, thinking that we could create some flyers. That could be the library or the superette, or we could have at the Visitors Center, the Chamber of Commerce, some just little handouts, very simple, a few paragraphs of information, bullet points, what have you. Did you know? I think also a lot of people aren't aware of, if you idle either, for most modern cars, it's more fuel efficient actually to turn off your car if you're going to idle for more than 10 seconds. It's better just to turn it off. So just awareness building. So basically, what we're hoping to get your input on is if the document, Less Idling, More Clean Air, if you all think this is the appropriate level of information for this initial meeting with town staff. Is it too much? Is it not enough? Is it just about right? And the basic overall concept.
Thanks, Harriet. Thoughts? John?
I think you may have answered the question, but I'll just double check.
Sure.
You alluded to meetings with town staff that you want to seek. Who exactly are we talking about? Parks and Rec you mentioned is one. But who else in the staff are we talking about that you need to have input from?
Well, potentially Tom may have thoughts on that, but potentially Department of Public Works. As far as names, John, I don't know if that's known at this point in time, but certainly Recs and Beach Department and Department of Public Works. And then at some point in time getting, perhaps needing approval from the select board. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
There may also be police department.
Okay.
Depending, Shane had brought that up.
What about health?
I think the Shana was very sure that our first stop, as you mentioned, Harriet, is the Recreation and Beach department. And my guess is that we'll have a better feel at that point for whether they will take it under their wing and run with it, or whether they will simply give us guidance on things that they're kind of giving us a thumbs up to go forward with.
I also want to interject real quickly that, we don't need to wordsmith the document here. If anyone has any thoughts, in particular, the signs, the logos you see, idle free zone, no idling zone. So if anyone has any brainstorms, perhaps something, other, I guess I would call it tag or logo or a slogan other than that, we really appreciate your input.
Yeah. So that would be sent over to you, Harriet. You and Jack. So Cheryl has a question.
Well, it's just more, I don't know if it's too soon, we all run and get our beach stickers and everything, right? And it would be nice somehow when we get our beach stickers sent back to us, if there could be an insert. It doesn't have to be big, because you can't give them all the information.
Mm-hmm.
And then also when people buy beach stickers at the beach, we don't want to flood people with paper, but is there a way when everybody's in their booth selling, at not every place either, but could you do a sample like at, First Encounter or Boat Meadow, well, you don't have that's only a sticker there. But, where people are selling stickers, is there a way to use that as a way to do some education too? So whether they're able to get the act together for this year, but I just think it's such a natural way when people buy their beach stickers to use it as a moment.
Thank you, Cheryl. I think Jack may have whatever thoughts you may have, Jack, but I think that's an excellent idea. So yeah, that there's a first year, what we can do. It's hard to believe it's already the middle of March, but so there may be first year, which may be the temporary signs, but I think integrating it with a whole beach sticker system, I think that's a great idea.
Kathy.
So I think this is a terrific idea. And I think that the discussion about what people think about cars and pollution and what is true about cars and pollution are radically different, right? The old story about how you needed to warm your car up for 10 minutes when it's cold outside, and they tell you now that you don't need to do that unless you live like in Alaska, in which case you need to plug it in anyway. But I think the material is really good. And what I'd like to do, if you guys are okay with it, is we have an opportunity in probably early June in our next newsletter. I mean, we could put it on our website sooner, but I'm thinking about it from a timing point of view. Put an article on this. I love the less idling, more clean air name that you've got. I'd love to take a medium-sized little PDF that you guys are comfortable with and publish it.
Oh, that sounds great. Jack, do you have any thoughts? That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
I think that's a great piece of, that would be terrific. That the more information we can get out there, the better for sure. So thank you, Kathy.
I can put something out on our website probably in April, right? Because I know that's when I don't know who said it, Elena or somebody said it about the beach stickers, right? That'd be a perfect time, for me to put it out on the website. So if you have something that you think is, something that you're comfortable with, as opposed to me like just taking what you've written and rewriting it, which is maybe not the best idea. If you send that to me in the next couple of weeks, I will get it on the website and I will put it in our newsletter in June.
Well, I can follow up with you later, Kathy, like how many words, what have you. Imagine you're looking for something simple, but we'll definitely. Did you say next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I've had a knee replacement, so I'm not really up to snuff at the moment.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Well, let's give it 2 or 3 weeks, and then my head will be in the game. My head's only in the game for listening right now, not for doing.
Okay, that's definitely doable. So yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
And Kathy, are you depending on timing in April? Maybe if we can, Harriet and Jack, you can get the finalized document for the committee to give a thumbs up on, and we'll move it over to Kathy at that point.
Right, and if you have a longer document, I can put it in as a link, right? So if you have it, what's the thing that's going to grab people's attention, and then if you want more, I can put the PDF in as a link that people can take a look at.
And I guess that would be the revised document that Tom has. Yeah. We'll definitely be, when to run by that committee and get everyone's approval and what have you. But like I say, brochures, little signs, so what have you, that we can distribute at various locations. So,
but I guess the good news is I don't have to ask the select board for permission.
Perfect. I think John is next.
Sure. Yeah. And this may be a little ahead of where you're at on things, but just looking at the sort of the language that's being used to sort of make the case here, it looks like the plan is to kind of go directly at people to say, don't idle because it pollutes and it causes, health issues for kids and whatnot. And I'm wondering if you're going to consider doing anything to supplement that as well with, sort of, I don't know, even a funny kind of approach to people to try to grab their attention. I think Kathy alluded to maybe trying to get some attention grabbing headlines for some part of this, even on the signs themselves. Is it too early to be thinking about that specific? Is that? Yeah.
I don't think so, John. We're racing through another year. So I
Yeah.
think, the no idle free zone, I think that's a start, but I know what you mean, something more positive rather than no, something
Right.
proactive, like here's
Even
why.
funny.
I mean, it needs to
Yeah.
be short. You can't have, it
Right.
needs to be pithy and short and pithy. But I agree with you. We could also, we could have both, but something that's like green and blue and
Mhm.
protect, so yeah, I if that's what you're saying, John, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
if we have ideas to suggest, just get those to you. But yeah. Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh. Thank you.
Lenny.
Just one more thought. I don't know if we could approach the National Seashore with this as well, where there's a lot of there's a lot of traffic. I mean, if we're going to do it at our own beaches, why not invite them to consider the same thing? And then also the transfer station. I think sometimes people in the recycling thing, they keep their thing idling, they get their cans, they get their bottles, whatever they're doing. And, I want to tell them, turn off your engine, please. But I think signs and education will help that a lot.
Good, thank you.
Very good. Back to Kathy.
So is anybody on the committee a good cartoonist? No, I'm serious because I think the thing that would get a lot of attention is a really clever cartoon. Like I could envision, I am not a cartoonist, but I could envision a cartoon where you have some type of a cute little animal. I don't know, whatever you guys think is good, with a little gas mask on, right? Because it says that you kind of like next to the no idling, or something. I mean, it's and probably no one would want that. The town would hate that, but something clever some kind of I'm a mascot for this initiative would probably go a long way. If any of you guys know a cartoonist or somebody who's a good artist.
I don't, and that person would not be me. So at one point in time, Tom, you had the idea, and I know we're getting late in the year, but maybe having some kind of competition. So I don't know, like maybe the high school or something, because sounds like something with a very creative. That we can be creative at all ages, but also part of awareness building. So it's like how to do that, but also get the stuff out, get something out, hopefully at least by July 4th weekend. But does anyone know anyone who is graphically talented and visual artist?
Well, I bet the school, the Green Club, could probably link us up to somebody. So that's a good idea. And as you said, Harriet, perhaps it's a stage 2 kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you do something really interesting, you might even get the attention of local press and have a little contest, or their committee going down and giving out donuts to people who are willing to turn off their engines, or something interesting, and get a reporter to come and actually put it in the paper. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, well, thank you very much. That's a really interesting project, and I'm glad this is progressing. So if you're ready, I will contact the rec and beach department, and we'll get something set up. What time frame do you want to do that in? I'm sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, I will be back in late April.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Yeah, really exciting to see this move forward, as I said. Next item, I'm just going to mention, and again, I don't want to go through the presentation. It's in your meeting packet, but if there's any questions or suggestions that you want to talk about here, we can do that, or you can send me suggestions. But this is for the Council of Aging. This is part of the Eastham, what do they call it? Eastham Talks. There's a name for it. I can't remember the name of it. And we're calling this Climate Conversations. So it'd be similar to what we did for the Nelson Fellowship. And very interested in getting folks to come and be part of the panel afterwards, in terms of talking with the folks in the audience about climate and what you can do. Any questions on what you've seen, if you've been able to look at it so far in the on the package? All right. So please take a chance to look through that. Send me any thoughts. And is there anyone interested for the April? What was the date? April 13th, I think it was. April 9th, Thursday, April 9th at 1 o'clock. Anyone able to join, interested in joining? No, all right, think about it. Okay. The next item, I'm going to turn it over to John. He found some very interesting material on natural habitats and certification. I put a little blurb in the meeting minutes or the meeting packet for you. So John, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Would it be helpful to share my screen with I get the website up. I don't know if that's useful or not.
Sure.
Let me see if I can make this work.
See if I can allow you to do this. Oh, there you go. Cool.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay, maybe it's over here. This is weird. All right. So when I was working, back when I was working at Fidelity in Rhode Island, we had a very large campus, and we had it certified by the National Wildlife Federation. At the time, they called it the Wildlife at Work certification. And you file an application, and there's certain things you had to do, certain things you had to offer within your campus. But getting the certification was a nice thing. It was a national recognition of being sensitive to the environment. And we actually had a sign put up at the main entry so that when people drove in, they could see we were a certified site. And on the site, you'll see they've got different types of certifications. So you can certify your home, your school, your church, your work, and there's a lot of different ways to go about it and different levels of effort required to reach them. And the reason I sent this on to Tom a while back is because Nauset High School, the new school, is LEED certified. So they're LEED Gold, I believe they are. So this would be, I don't think LEED takes these kind of things into consideration. So this would allow the students or whoever might want to turn that campus into a certified site. They do have a schoolyard habitats planning guide. So they would give you steps to follow. And they've got curricula that align with it. To certify a school, there are no fees. They waive the fees if you're going to do a school. So there'd be no direct cost. And it would actually be a nice form of visibility for some of the, Rhode Island yard kind of conversations and natural plants, natural native plants. So the site here, again, very straightforward. Here's the different elements in the school site. This is the program, the schoolyard guide has got a whole roadmap to doing it. But you could also do it as an individual. So this was just something I thought might be interesting and might align with some of the goals of the climate plan.
Yeah, would this be applicable for the elementary school as well?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it could be applicable for town hall. It could be applicable for each one of us as individuals. It could be a business, it could be the Red Barn mini golf course. Maybe, there's a lot of different, I think, ways to go about it. And, for church properties or even the Elks, which has got property. So it's about creating visibility and paying attention to things that you may not naturally pay attention to. I started to try to, run through the individual one. And it said, yeah, you got a lot of good things, but you don't have any water. Somewhere along the line, you need a water source. It could be a bird bath, it could be a tub, but you're not going to get this certification without a form of water available. So there's little things that you may think you're doing right things, but you may miss something along the way.
So what would be, the next steps to consider?
Seeing if anyone's interested, and by anyone, or how it might integrate with the plan. I think there are elements in the plan that talk about natural Cape Cod lawns, reducing pesticides, that types of things. So we could try to integrate in there, but the Green Committee at the school may be a reasonable place to start. And maybe they could help the elementary school. I mean, they could, the kids could tutor the kids in what was important.
Any questions for John? Very good. So some good material. John, if you have extra material that you want to supplement what I put in the meeting packet, let me know. Just send it on. We'll get that out to everybody.
I'll send you the link.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Next up, let me go through the chair's report quickly, and I will share my screen for this so you can see it. Let's see, share. Any share options? There it is. Okay. So I did put in, the annual goals are finalized. Well, I mean, finalized for now. I mean, they can be living goals, of course, as we had said. I put a package in the meeting packet so you can see the final instantiation. We'll revisit those in June. And much thanks to the working groups. The working groups are listed in there, and I wonder if we need some pithy names for each working group. So there's something for each of the working group leads to think about. What do you want to call your working group? But everybody's off and running. So any interest in particular goals or actions, please contact the lead for that. All right. The Climate Action Plan. So I spoke with the commission this past week, and they are working on the comments that we submitted. They were appreciative that they were very, succinct, and we had very, very specific and not esoteric actions for them to consider. And they thought they would be able to get a good bit of those in. So they're working that right now. At the moment, the target is to have them present to the select board at the March 16th meeting. So that will be next week. That agenda hasn't been issued yet, as far as I know. As soon as it comes out, we'll know for sure if it's on. But I would encourage as many as can, dial in or come in person to the March 16th meeting. There'll be a discussion. And I believe the way this will work is that the board will receive the plan at that point. They'll get an overview from the commission. They probably have some questions. And then I think they typically take 1 to 2 weeks to review the plan themselves and then come back at a future meeting to vote on it. So I think that's going to work. I met with the Strategic Planning Committee recently. And as Jackie O'Rourke mentioned, what they want to do is incorporate the top priority actions from the Climate Action Plan to be also reflected into the strategic plan. So the question would be, how do we get to that? So Roberta and I will be meeting with Shana tomorrow. We'll talk about that a bit. We'll talk, we'll report back to the committee at our April meeting on the process for prioritizing. But the Strategic Planning Committee is responsible for considering our recommendations, working with us and talking, through the relevance of each item that we recommend and how that will, how that fits within the town priorities. So more to come on that. They're going to be doing an update in June. They plan to do an update in June for the select board for the plan. So they're hoping to get all this done before then. Shana was not able to be here tonight. She had a conflict, but she gave me a couple items. So great news. We received a Green Communities grant of $250K. That's considered a competitive grant, and that covers the HVAC update for the police department. As you remember, the fire department was done over the last couple of years. That one took a while. The police department is next. And then the thought right now is to submit the town hall building, which is a complicated one, to the Green Communities Climate Leader Program once we receive that. Hopefully we'll receive that. Speaking of Climate Leader, that process is still underway. They have not announced any winners yet. They said likely later this spring. I looked up the last year's announcements and they were in the May timeframe. So if they follow the same process, we're liable to hear in the May timeframe. Truro Climate Action Committee contacted myself and Roberta and also Shana separately, which was interesting. They are looking to get the film Cresta Alta screened. They're evidently working with the filmmaker Todd Anders Johnson to get it screened on the Cape. I think they have something for Sandwich or Plymouth area. They have something for Dennis area. They're trying to get one for the Outer Cape. I think they have one for the islands, for Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket. If anyone is interested in this, I had not heard of it. Some of you may know more about this than I. Let me know. We can link you up with Shana, who's working to find a place to get this screened. And we hope everyone can maybe come and be at the screening, which is March 31st, I think it is. I'll have a calendar in a minute. In fact, let me go up to that so we get that right. Yes, the 31st, and that's International Dark Sky Week, or it's actually just before International Dark Sky Week. So Shana was working on the possibility of getting it for the 31st. Wednesday, April 8th, Mass Energize is doing a Climate Leaders Conference. So John and I and Roberta have been looking at that for possibilities. It does seem to fit in well with some of what we're doing doing in terms of outreach to residents and to businesses. The issue with that one is it's up in Waltham, and we would need to request the tuition for that. There's a $150 to $155 fee, which I think we have the budget for. I mentioned the Climate Conversations presentation at the COA on the 9th. Our next meeting will be the 13th. And then just a note that coming up on the May 4th is town meeting. All right, and then just a couple of quick notes here. I'll try to keep this moving. I sent out more info on these two items. The state energy bill has a host of really interesting things in there, including balcony solar, reduced permitting, with electronic permitting for solar, which should bring down the costs of solar for folks. There were a couple other, one of them was allowing towns to ban these predatory third-party commercial energy suppliers that kind of come in and glom onto people's bills. But there's a really nasty piece in there, which is potentially going to decimate Mass Save. They put into the bill, they wrote in a $1 billion reduction in Mass Save that'll be targeted for 2027, which is the third year of the 3-year energy efficiency plan. The plan runs on a 3-year time frame, and it's budget roughly across the state, not just Cape Light Compact, but across the state. It's about $1.5 billion per year, and that's money that the state is putting in to help residents upgrade and electrify, upgrade their heating and energy. Do weatherization, do insulation, be able to live more cheaply here on the Cape, spending less money on utilities, as well as decarbonizing. So with a $1.5 billion per year budget, if they're taking out $1 billion, that's 2/3 of the budget. We'll mostly shut down, I think, the budget for the year 2027. So this is going to the Senate next. So I think there's, a lot of hope that the Senate will make some compromises there and pull back that decimating number. And of course, everyone has the ability to reach out to their local senators. Julian Sear is our local senator for this area. Good piece of news, I think. The last item is the winter bill relief program. Devil's always in the details. So the goal is a 15% reduction in electric bills for March and February, March. It's good because we got nailed in January and March and February because of the cold, and a 10% reduction in the gas bills. A bunch of this is just going to be pushed out and prorated out to later in the year. So we're all going to end up paying it back, except for $180 million that the state is putting in for the electric bills. They didn't say, couldn't find any information on how far that would go in terms of covering the electric bills, that 15% reduction. The rest of it is going to come back to us. We'll have to pay it back later. You'll get billed for it later. Okay. So that's the highlights in the bill. And there is one item to be aware of that I'll point out. There's stuff that talks about reducing the net metering cap. There's actually two pieces that I found. One is it's going to raise the municipal net metering cap, which currently is capped at 10 megawatts. So that speaks well for Eastham for the future. But the other piece is that, as far as I can tell, they're not reducing net metering for residents. And you'll see some, what I think are predatory social media comments that are saying the state is going to take away your net metering, get in right now. If you don't, you're going to miss out. As far as I can tell, the only thing they're doing is they're going to reduce for new large net metering facilities. Those are the big mega facilities that people put in and invest in. That's what they're going to reduce, put a cap on net metering on them. Any questions on any of that? That was a lot of info. There's more info in the packet. Okay, so that is it for my update, and I'll turn it over to member and liaison updates. So this would be a good time for anyone to bring folks up to date on what you're doing in terms of your working groups and your goals for this year and other projects and info they might have heard about.
This is John. Can I jump in?
Go right ahead.
Try to sneak in here. The chainsawing is coming to a crescendo here, so forgive me if I get pulled away. So the working group that I'm part of, along with Jack and John Muggeridge and Olaf, has been getting going on a coaching program focused on clean energy. And the first step in that was kind of assess what resources are out there already and what sort of programs already exist. In particular, the Energy Navigators program out of Orleans. And Tom and I sat down late last week with a couple of the leads for that program and learned a lot about what they're doing. And the very encouraging news is that they're wide open to options for collaborating and coordinating with them on what we want to do in Eastham. And they also helped us identify a couple of key resources. One's called Mass Energize and the other is called Abode, that can be very useful for standing up programs like this, including the websites that are necessary as part of the architecture. And I apologize for the noise in the background. I hope that's not too disruptive. Just
know what I'm hearing.
raise a hand. Okay, good. So the next step for us is to do some deeper assessment of those resources that I just mentioned, as well as some of the options, sort of the models for structuring what we want to do with our program, because there's still a variety of possibilities. Although we think coming out of the discussion with Orleans that it would be very desirable to have some sort of a shared resource, some sort of almost like a back room that we share across the programs, so that we can leverage each other's peers and data that we have kind of jointly across locations, across communities. I think that idea in general has promise, and we need to just kind of sort out in a more fine-grained way what the viable models might be. But Orleans is a great place to start. Acton is another one, and there are several other towns in across Massachusetts that use the Mass Energize program for standing up and operating their programs. And then the last thing we're going to be looking at, and for best practices for doing things like the peer program in particular. How do you identify peers? How do you train them? How do you keep them trained? And on that note, there's a training session on the 12th of this month, excuse me, that I'm going to participate in, and encourage other folks on our working group to participate if they can, because it's going to be a key part of what we do as well, and that will make us sort of more distinctly an Eastham effort, I think. And figuring out how to do that is going to be important. So that best practices webinar is something we'll take a look at in the next couple of days. So many different sort of threads there that we're starting to knit together and better understand. But again, the meeting with Orleans was very productive, and I'm encouraged. We'll continue to collaborate with them, no matter what form our program eventually takes. So, and I don't know if John or Jack has anything to add to that.
No, I just think there's some great opportunities to leverage what work other people have done and just keep it as easy as possible. So there's a lot of good things out there. We just need to explore them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I like the don't reinvent the wheel approach. That's great. So John, the Orleans training is March 12th.
March 12th. It's at 11 a.m. and I have the information I can share with anybody who's interested. It's being hosted at the police department.
And I think everyone is welcome for that to drop in and see what's going on there.
Yes.
And then the best practices webinar.
Well, I was referring to that particular event as an example of how to get best practices. But there's also, you're reminding me, there's something tomorrow that you put in front of me that is about coaching, and it's separate from the Orleans effort. But it's also it's a webinar on how to strengthen your coaching, the coaching part of your program. And so I'm probably going to check that out myself tomorrow. I mean, it was short notice to have anybody else participate in it, but I think I should be able to cover that tomorrow.
Very good. Very good. And I'll mention the interesting part of let's close the door. The interesting part about Mass Energize that we learned from our meeting with Orleans and from some of the research that you've been doing is that they create websites. They're a nonprofit from, is it Wareham?
Waltham, I think.
Well, Waltham is where the seminar is. But anyway, they're a Massachusetts-based nonprofit that was started by the Energy and Climate Committee from the town of, begins with the W, I can't remember. They've grown it into I think it's a small team with software engineers who do websites for committees and for grassroots organizers in the climate and environment arena. And membership is, I think it's $1,000 a year. Might be a possibility for us to look into that for a future year and get them helping us and helping to spread the word. They have a lot of information that you tap into when you do that, with a lot of how-tos, a lot of background work that they've already done. So it's almost an instant way to reuse some of that research that's already been done, and to add our own and customize it for our own purpose.
And I think Mass Energize has comparable support that it's providing to at least a dozen communities across Massachusetts, maybe closer to 20. So there's quite a few that we could learn from, as well as complement.
Good. Thanks, John. Anyone else? Anyone else like the floor? All right. Very good. With that, our next meeting will be on the the 13th. I will be it's my turn to be out of the country. I'm going to be in Ireland. We're touring Ireland that week. So Roberta will pick up the chair position for that day. We will see you all soon. Entertain a motion to adjourn. I think that's a yes.
So
from
moved.
Melanie. Thank you.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 4-0, it passes. Have a great evening and enjoy the warming weather.
Thank you, Tom.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.